If your bank account hasn't changed yet, keep watching because what's coming in the next 60 days will directly hit your wallet. The federal government just moved the goalposts again. The $2,000 stimulus checks that millions of Americans have been waiting on, the COLA adjustment that was supposed to protect your Social Security from inflation, and the $300 unemployment boost, none of it is landing the way Washington promised. And if you're living on a fixed income right now, you already feel it every single time you walk into a grocery store. Here's what the mainstream news isn't telling you clearly. These delays are not accidents. Budget negotiations on Capitol Hill, shifting congressional priorities, and election year politics are all colliding at the exact moment seniors need relief the most. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's been approved, what's still stuck, when the money is realistically coming, and what you should be doing right now to prepare, before another month slips by without a single extra dollar in your pocket. Let's start with the $2,000 stimulus checks because this is the one that has every senior in America either hopeful or completely frustrated. And honestly, both reactions make total sense. For months now, there has been serious discussion inside Congress about sending direct payments to Americans who are struggling under the weight of inflation, rising prescription costs, and grocery bills that seem to go up every single week. The proposal has gone through multiple versions, multiple committees, and multiple rounds of debate. And the reason it keeps stalling is not because lawmakers don't know people need the money. It's because both sides of the aisle keep attaching conditions to it that the other side refuses to accept. That's Washington for you. The people who need help are sitting at their kitchen tables doing math on fixed incomes while politicians argue about who gets credit for signing the check. Now here is where things stand in real, plain language. The $2,000 direct payment proposal is tied into a broader economic relief package that has been bouncing around Capitol Hill. Some members of Congress want it means-tested, meaning only people below a certain income level would qualify. Others want it to go out broadly, similar to how the COVID-era stimulus checks worked. Social Security recipients, veterans, and disabled Americans are specifically being discussed as priority groups, which is actually significant because in past rounds of stimulus, some of these groups had delays in receiving their payments simply because the IRS didn't have their direct deposit information on file. The Social Security Administration has been working to fix that pipeline, but the truth is, no final bill has been signed into law yet. What you're hearing in the news is legislative momentum, not a done deal. And you deserve to know the difference between the two, so why does this keep getting delayed? The honest answer is that the federal budget is under enormous pressure right now. The national debt ceiling fights, military spending debates, and domestic program funding arguments are all happening at the same time. When Congress is stretched thin, trying to negotiate everything at once, individual relief measures get stuck in the middle. It doesn't mean the $2,000 stimulus is dead, it means it's caught in traffic. The question every senior should be asking is not just, is it coming, but what do I do while I wait? And we're going to get to that. Now let's talk about Social Security COLA, because this one hits differently. COLA stands for Cost of Living Adjustment, and it is the annual increase that is supposed to make sure your Social Security benefit keeps pace with inflation. The idea behind it is simple and fair. If everything costs more, your check should reflect that. The Social Security Administration calculates COLA based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which is a government measurement of how much everyday goods and services are going up in price. For 2025, the COLA increase came in at 2.5%. For someone receiving $800 a month in Social Security, that's about $45 extra per month. Now, before you get excited, let's be real with each other. $45 a month is not keeping up with what seniors are actually experiencing at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, or when paying utility bills. Here's the frustrating part that nobody in the mainstream media explains properly. The COLA percentage is calculated using data from July, August, and September of the prior year. That means if inflation spiked heavily in the winter months or in the spring of the current year, that price increase is not reflected in your COLA at all. You are essentially being compensated for yesterday's inflation, not today's. This is a structural flaw in the system that advocacy groups for seniors have been raising for years. Organizations like the Senior Citizens League have repeatedly pushed for a shift to a different index called CPI-E, which specifically tracks the spending patterns of elderly Americans. Things like healthcare, housing, and prescription drugs, which take up a much larger portion of a senior's budget than the current formula accounts for. That fight is ongoing in Washington. and it matters enormously for your long-term financial security. Now, on top of all of this, there's been discussion about a potential delay in how and when these COLA adjustments actually appear in people's checks. While the adjustment itself is not being taken away, there have been administrative processing challenges within the Social Security Administration that have caused some beneficiaries to see irregular deposit timing. If your payment landed on a slightly different day than expected, or if the amount looked different from what you calculated, you are not alone, and you are not imagining it. The SSA has been dealing with staffing shortages and system update rollouts simultaneously, which creates real-world delays even when the money is technically approved and scheduled. The best thing you can do is monitor your My Social Security online account, because that portal updates faster than most phone representatives can give you information. Let's move into the $300 unemployment boost, because this one has a lot of confusion around it, and it's important to clear the air. The $300 federal unemployment supplement is being discussed as part of a broader worker support initiative that targets Americans who have been displaced from jobs, particularly older workers between the ages of 55 and 64 who have been laid off and are struggling to re-enter the workforce before they reach Social Security retirement age. This is a group that often gets overlooked in policy conversations, too young to collect full Social Security benefits, but old enough that employers frequently pass them over in hiring. It's a brutal gap that leaves millions of Americans in financial limbo. The $300 boost is designed to sit on top of existing state unemployment benefits, functioning similarly to how the federal pandemic unemployment supplement worked during COVID. The difference is that this version is being targeted more specifically and is being paired with job retraining program funding. However, here is the reality check you need. This supplement has not been universally approved and distributed yet. Its status varies depending on what state you live in because unemployment is a joint federal-state program. Some states have already built frameworks to distribute supplemental federal unemployment funds quickly, while others have slower administrative processes. If you or someone in your household is currently on unemployment and expecting this boost, the most accurate information will come from your specific state's Department of Labor website, not from a national headline. What's also worth understanding is why these unemployment measures matter to the Social Security conversation specifically. Every year that an older worker remains unemployed and is not contributing to the workforce means fewer payroll taxes going into the Social Security Trust Fund. This is the long-term funding mechanism for the program. The more people collecting and the fewer people contributing, the faster the trust fund depletes. The Congressional Budget Office has projected that without legislative changes, the Social Security Trust Fund could face significant shortfalls within the next decade. This is not a scare tactic. It is a mathematical reality that Congress is aware of and is actively debating. The question is whether they will act through benefit adjustments, payroll tax increases, means testing, or some combination of all three. And seniors deserve to be informed about these conversations, not surprised by them. Now let's talk about what you should actually be doing right now practically, while all of this is moving through the legislative process. First and most importantly, make sure your direct deposit information with both the Social Security Administration and the IRS is completely up to date. This sounds basic, but it is the single biggest reason why people miss payments or experience delays when relief programs roll out. If you've changed banks, moved, or updated any personal information in the last 2 years, log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and verify everything is current. The IRS also has an online portal where you can check and update your payment information. If you don't have online access, call your local Social Security office and have them verify your information over the phone. Second, if you are not already enrolled in all the benefits you qualify for, now is the time to find out what you're missing. Many seniors are leaving money on the table every single month simply because they don't know about programs like the Medicare Savings Program, extra help for prescription drug costs, SNAP food assistance, and Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which is known as LIHEAP. These are federally funded programs with income thresholds that many Social Security recipients qualify for but never apply to. The National Council on Aging has a free online tool called Benefits Checkup that allows you to enter your zip code and income information and see every program you may be eligible for. It takes about 10 minutes and could genuinely change your monthly budget in a meaningful way. Third, stay informed but be careful about where you're getting your information. There are an alarming number of websites, social media posts, and even YouTube channels that spread misleading information about stimulus payments and Social Security changes, sometimes intentionally to get clicks, sometimes just because the creator doesn't fully understand the legislative process. The rule of thumb is this: if a headline tells you a check is already approved and being mailed to your address next week, verify it against SSA.gov, the official IRS website, or Congress.gov before you count on that money. Misinformation about Social Security is rampant right now, and it causes real harm when seniors make financial decisions based on money that hasn't actually been approved yet. Fourth, if you are in genuine financial hardship right now and cannot wait for these programs to move through the system, there are emergency resources available to you today. Local area agencies on aging in every county across the United States can connect you with emergency food assistance, utility help, transportation, and in some cases, emergency cash aid. You can find your local agency by calling the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116, which is a free service funded by the federal government. You should not have to go hungry or sit in a cold house while Washington debates a bill. These local resources exist specifically for moments like this. Now, stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, what does all of this tell us about the state of Social Security and senior financial support in America right now? It tells us that the system is under real stress. It tells us that the political will to help seniors exists in the form of speeches and proposals, but that converting those proposals into law and getting money into people's hands remains painfully slow. It tells us that the gap between what seniors need and what the system currently delivers is wider than it has been in recent memory, and that the advocacy work being done by organizations fighting for a stronger COLA formula, expanded Medicare, and better unemployment protections for older workers is more important than ever. It also tells us that seniors in this country are not passive. The generation that is currently collecting Social Security built this country. You worked, you paid into the system, and you were promised a safety net. Demanding that the safety net actually function is not asking for a handout. It is demanding accountability for money you contributed for decades. That distinction matters, and it should be said clearly and often. The $2,000 stimulus check conversation, the COLA adjustment shortcomings, and the $300 unemployment boost are all symptoms of the same underlying challenge. A support system that was designed for a different economic era, trying to serve people living in a dramatically more expensive one. The cost of housing, healthcare, food, and transportation has transformed over the last 20 years in ways that fixed income adjustments simply have not kept up with. And while Congress debates and committees meet and lobbyists argue, real people are making real decisions about whether to buy their medication or pay their electric bill. That is why staying informed matters. That is why understanding the difference between what has been proposed and what has been passed matters. That is why knowing your rights, your resources, and your options matters. Because when you are informed, you are not at the mercy of a confusing system. You become someone who can navigate it, advocate within it, and help others around you do the same. We will continue to track every update on these programs as they move through Congress and as the Social Security Administration releases new information. Every time something changes, whether a bill gets a vote, a payment timeline gets confirmed, or a new resource becomes available, you will hear about it here first in plain language, without the noise and without the spin. So make sure you have subscribed because the next update on these programs could be the one that directly affects your next check.